All right, Best Conversations podcast, man. This is a really, really, really special episode. It's Super Bowl week, so I figured we'll get on a former NFL player, um, a classmate of mine, a former UNC alumni, Carolina Panther, Scotland High School alum, uh, one of the first people I knew from where I'm from to make it to that level. First time to the program. Everybody welcome Hilee Taylor. What's up, brother?
What's up? What's up, bro?
I'm
Appreciate
good. I'm good, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, man. Like I was telling you, man, so many people, was rooting for you when you was in the NFL, but you never really heard the story and the grind and everything to get to that level. So I thought that's why it'd be amazing to have you on, man, because you from where I'm from, man. Ain't too many making it out of Wagram, Laurinburg, bro.
Yeah. Nah, you're right, man. We spend most of our time in good old Wagram. That's even smaller than Marburg. So
Right.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a dream come true to make it out. Definitely something I had to visualize daily. Had to sacrifice a lot. It's kind of easy, to go to a different path where we're from. You just kind of got to be your own person, you know what I mean, and surround yourself with, like-minded people. Me and you cross paths. We never had any issues. It was always good energy. So you just kind of.
Do you remember we crossed paths? We had a class together before we get started on your great journey. We had a class together. Let me see if you remember.
McKenna.
Huh?
Was it Coach McKenna class?
Who taught that little woodshop class?
Yeah, Coach McKenna. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah. So Hilee used to be my beatboxer. I used to be rapping. I used to rap. It was me and I think the young man name was Ahmad.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be rapping. Hilee just be beatboxing all the whole time.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Dang, I was wondering if you remember that, man. We've been out of high school a long time, but before we get into your journey, man, like I said, man, it's Super Bowl week, man. You played in the NFL, you know the game. Who's your Super Bowl pick, bro?
Man, off top, just going off just the last game, I gotta go with the Bucks.
The Bucks.
Of course, Tom Brady. You can't bet against him, but I just like that Buck defense. They create turnovers, they create opportunities. And allow Tom Brady to be super aggressive. So when Tom when Brady throw a pick, the defense go right back out there and get an interception. So it allows Tom to play aggressive. I don't think a lot of people see that, but he can go out there without any worries and know the defense, has his back. So that's who I'm choosing. I think it's going to be the score ain't going to be as high as people think it's going to be. I think it's going to come down to a defensive, turnover possession. I think they'll pull it out.
Speak on Tom Brady for a second, Hilee. We've all watched his greatness. He's been in the league since we was in high school, and he's still doing it at an elite level. What do you think makes him so great? That makes him the GOAT?
He had that chip on his shoulder. If you think back when he got drafted in the 6th round. So 6th round typically denotes there's about 200 picks ahead of you, 200 people. So you got to think, there was probably at least 10 to 15 quarterbacks that were chosen in front of him. So I think he still has that chip on his shoulder. It's something you got to keep, and that's what makes greatness. I mean, he grinds every day as if he's still a 6th-round pick, even though he's one of the best to ever do it. So I think he's staying super consistent, and he's keeping that fire lit.
Okay. So it's on record. So you saying you got a low scoring game. You got Buccaneers by, let's say, 7-3. What's up?
I would say the Bucs. I would say 7-3 in there. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Wagram, North Carolina, Hilee. When I say Wagram, North Carolina, man, what do you think of?
Man, I think about just Knicks.
Okay.
First thing they come to Knicks, you know what I mean? You know, a little convenience store. You get your pizza, your potatoes, and after that, man, I just think of just the grind. You know, Wagram Park. You know what I mean? If it wasn't Knicks, it was Wagram Park. And Wagram Park, you know, you had your parking lot, which is where you did your football practices at for the Raiders and the Rams.
I remember you from the Raiders. I remember you from the Raiders. Hold on. Go back to the meeting. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I remember you from the Raiders. I think I'm about a year older than you, and I was playing for the Rams. And I said, boy, that boy's special. Like I think at this time you was running like you playing running back.
I was. Great memory. Yep, I was. Yep.
You was playing running back, and I just remember playing for the Rams. We would practice on the same field in Wagram, and you were just gone. I was like, boy, that boy Hilee is a problem, man, a problem.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that you know, honestly, when I first, I didn't want to get off subject, but basically, you know, when you mentioned the Raiders, when I first started playing, I was playing, in the front yard and stuff, you know what I mean? And so, when you're accustomed to a certain atmosphere, you get out of that, you just think like, oh, them boys at the park bigger,
Right.
That. And so at the time, Wesley Johnson, which was Little J, he was a man, you know what I mean, for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. So I went in knowing that, and he still had a good career, but I was able to go in and earn a little respect. So yeah, man, you know that part had a lot of great athletes come through there. A lot of great people like yourself doing things, you know what I mean? Just to envision something outside of Wagram, man, it's great, man. I mean, it's a great little small town. Shout
out to Coach Sleepy.
The GOAT. He's the GOAT, man. He's like the Belichick. He's the Belichick of Little League.
Absolutely. So let's get right to it, man. Scotland High School. By the time you got to Scotland, 9th grade, playing football, was the NFL was college football on the vision, on the mind already?
You know what it was, K1? And at that time, to give you a backstory, at Shaw, I played defensive end and quarterback.
You played quarterback at Shaw?
I did. A lot of people don't know that. I played quarterback. Yep. 8th grade year, I played.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what the numbers look like 8th grade year?
My numbers, I don't. Back then it was more in touchdowns and stuff. But I had a lot of touchdowns, both passing and running, because the coach at the time, Coach Steve Wood, he gave me the leeway. Me and Scott Reese,
Scott Reese.
Yeah, he was a center. And so depending on how the lineman was lined up on the center, all I had to do was tap Scott. He would block that way, and I'd just do a quarterback sneak and score. So, yeah, at that time, we were kind of a little ahead of the game. They really weren't thinking about things like that. So I had a lot of touchdowns that way. But I played quarterback. And going into 9th grade year, of course, I'm thinking I'm going to be quarterback. You know what I mean? So going into it, you have your tryouts. They have different, they say, what position you want to play? And based on what position you want to play, you go to that area, after you run your 40 yards.
I remember that. If you remember grade, first day of practice, It's you just go where you want to go. Pick a position, you run to the position, you go to it. Eventually, the coach will realize like, might not be for you, young man. So,
Right.
so let me tell you my story, Hilee. I'm wearing a 21 jersey, prime time. It was a gazillion cats going over to the wide receiver. I'm like, I ain't going over there. You ain't gonna never get to play. It's play wide receiver. So I'm like, I'm gonna go over here and play DB. And then I think the this is right around this is JV year eventually. Coach Chancellor, whatever the DB coach name was for Scotland, something.
Okay.
I forget the name. So so I get in the game, we blowing Marlboro out, and I get in the game, and I'm playing cornerback, and the dude is like just kill me on the fade, but he misses it. And at that point, the coach was like, "Look, bro, you're going to safety."
Got you up out of there, huh?
Yeah, got me up out of it. I definitely could have made the highlight reel if bro would have got me. But I'm sorry to get off track. But
nah, you good. I mean, stuff like that happens, man. I mean, even though I made it professionally, I made a gazillion mistakes like that. You know what I mean? And as a defensive lineman, you can cover your mistakes a little more because you're trying to get to the ball. But as a DB and a receiver, you're in an island. So when people looking, it's just y'all. It's not like looking at 4 or 5 people all jumping together. So I mean, you definitely got to have amnesia. Playing receiver. Yeah, you got to. So, but yeah. So go back to the story. Just like you said, you went to run your position. Of course, I ran to go to quarterback, right?
Right.
So at the time, our 8th grade year, we actually blew out like everybody in Scotland County. Nobody scored a point on us. Like we was known to be that team. So you kind of merged together. So Morrell Mafat at the time, he was a quarterback for Sycamore Lane or whatever. Yep. Me and him always had this rivalry. He played for the Vikings, Raiders and Vikings. We had our ordeal, Sycamore Lane and Shaw. So we go to race each other. We knew each other. We raced each other, and we had the same time. When the coach said, "All right, Morrell, go to quarterback. Hilee, go to defensive lineman." And, it's a slap in the face.
Absolutely.
For being a skill player to that. So, man, I was pissed off. Because not only did you tell me I couldn't play a position, but you did it in front of somebody that's my rival, and you put him where I think I should be.
Right.
So, went down there, defensive lineman, Coach Steele was down there, Walter Steele.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one of my mentors, he was down there. And so he had a drill. I had no idea. I've never heard of a pulling guard in my life, never seen one. So he had a drill where, you line up as a defensive lineman. And then, he had offensive lineman lined up. And then you didn't know where the block was coming from. You just had to react. And so long story short, one of our good friends, Dane Monroe, which went to Carver, he was one of the offensive linemen at the time. And he came out of nowhere, and just lo and behold, at the last minute, I seen him, and we collided. And from there, Coach Steele did not even let me smell quarterback no more. I never played quarterback again, and the rest was history. I always played defensive end.
Now, did you now bring me? Sometimes I got good memories, sometimes I don't. Now, when did you start playing varsity? By sophomore year?
Sophomore year, I wouldn't say it. Sophomore year, I played JV, and at the end of the year when your season's done a little early, you get moved up.
Right.
That's what happened. Yeah. So technically, yeah, but not really. I played as a sophomore, and then I played varsity for 2 years.
Okay. I'm thinking you might have jumped. I remember I was on that 10-1 JV team when we lost to Richmond. That was my last year ever playing football for Scotland. 9-1, 10-1. We only lost to Richmond. The same team. Me and Quentin D-Bear's on that same team. D-Berry.
Okay. I ain't no Quentin played football.
You don't remember that?
Nah, you just told me something new, bro. Nah, I never knew that.
He played wide receiver. Me and Quentin.
That's what's up, yo. I didn't know that.
We was in that last bunch of, we getting blown out. Then they throwing us.
I got you. Y'all the brains. Y'all the brains, man. That's all that.
Yeah. By the time you get to your junior senior year, man, when does the notoriety is happening where people are recruiting and thinking that you could be something special?
That's a good question. So actually, notoriety for me happened in my junior season. That was my first year in varsity, and I had a good year. That year we actually went to the playoffs. We made it to the third round.
Wow.
And we made it to play a school called Independence, which at the time they had probably the biggest, a lot of people, Samir is a big athlete, is a big well-known athlete, but at the time there was a big athlete named Chris Lee, and he was probably just as big, just as big, if not bigger, than, what Zamir Buzz was, to kind of give you a take on how it was. He was that guy, you know what I mean? And so I went into that game, back then we didn't have a lot of these video outlets to where we can showcase our talents. Our opportunities was presented when we played a good player, you know what I mean? So I knew going into this game, there's going to be a lot of scouts there looking at Chris Lee or whatever. And so by me playing defensive end, I said the only way that I feel I get notoriety is being close to him the entire game. And so I said my prayers that game, and I had a great game against him, even though we lost, but still to this day, he says we was the toughest defense ever. I think we held him like 80 yards. He was averaging like 400 or 500 yards, 50 points a game, and they beat us 21-7 with, calling back 2 touchdowns that we feel like shouldn't have been called back.
They called back 2?
Yep, they called back one on Daryl Mitchell, D. Mitch, and then Belton. He caught one, and they said he was out. So those 2 right there kind of, held us back. But nevertheless, we was a tough team. We feel like we would have got past them, we would have won it all that year. But I never forget, after that game, the following week, you kind of go out and clean your lockers and stuff like that. Coach Levat, was another mentor, Coach Levat, he called me to the office, and he said, somebody want to talk to you. And it was a scout from UNC Chapel Hill named Coach Brewer, who ended up being the one recruiting me the whole time. And so he called, he said, man, I like what you did at the game, basically. I seen you, interested in you. And at this time, to kind of give you this kind of overall view, I kind of set myself short because I was always undersized. Like I was 180 pounds playing defensive end. Like 180 pounds is like a receiver and skill player. You know what I'm saying? So in my head, I was like, well, I'll probably go D1 AA. And I had it in my sights that I wanted to go to Appalachian State. And at the time, this is what Stuart Adams, older guy, had went. So I kind of had it in my head, I wanted to go there, super rule and all that. So long story short, man, ever since, the scout game is if one person like you, then everybody likes you. So after that, the letters start rolling in from everywhere. I just kind of going to my senior year, said that I was going to make that decision to go to a college before my first game. And so it was tough because you kind of want to play the recruiting game. I had there's a lot of schools that was after me. You want to have the bragging rights to say, oh yeah, I had 50 offers. But my dad, rest in peace, he made me look at it from a business perspective. He said, Lano, his name was Hilee, he called me Lano, my middle name, you got to think about, if you get injured, what schools you want to go to and what school will you think you better get a job afterwards. And so he made me see that. And he made me see that to go ahead and get the decision out of the way so I don't have to worry about it during my senior season, that I can enjoy it. And I'm glad I did that. And that's when I committed to Chapel Hill the night before we played Lumberton.
Wow, that's amazing, bro. You going to UNC just from afar, just watching, I was like, man, this would be such a perfect fit for him, man, just to stay in the state. Was there anybody really close that you ever thought about that you could have went to outside of Appalachian State?
Yes. To be honest with you, at Virginia Tech, well, there was two schools. There was Virginia Tech and South Carolina. So I like a lot. And I like both of them because of proximity. And I like South Carolina because I felt like down there, for some reason, it's the stigma between South and North Carolina. I feel like South Carolina feel like, we North Carolina, we pretty boys, we basketball, you know what I mean, blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted to go down there to play in the SEC because still to this day, they feel like they're the best, which I respect them. But at the end of the day, I don't see no difference. We played them. I don't see them no different than the ACC. You know what I mean? So I wanted to go down there to prove that. But Lou Holtz at the time, he had already said that he was going to be leaving. And I wanted to go because of him, because he was one of my best coaches, favorite coaches, because when he coached at Notre Dame. So by him leaving, that scratched him off. Well, Virginia Tech offered me. I like them a lot. And I was about to accept the offer on the spot. And my daddy said, well, you know what, just let us think about it. And so that's when he gave me the spiel about which school will I feel the most comfortable with and which school, was the closest to me. So if Virginia Tech would have been an hour closer, I would have went there.
One of Scotland High alumni, I think I'm correct, Jacoby.
Yep.
With the UNC.
Yep.
Did you talk to Jacoby any on life at UNC and things like that?
Yeah. So we actually have you have what you call unofficial visits to go to the school, and that's when they pair you up with a current player, and they kind of take you around. They either take you to a basketball game, or they just take you out and about, just kind of show you the day-to-day life. And so Jacoby was my host, and Jacoby, I mean, a lot of people would think by being from the same town that he would kind of force it on me. But Jacoby, he never forced the issue on me. You know what I mean? He just said, make a decision at the end of the day. But I can tell you by experience, this is what I experienced, and this is what I like, and this is what I don't like. And so he left the ball on my court. And when it came time to make a decision, it was easy because he's from back home, and I knew he kind of treated me like a little brother, and I kind of looked at him like a big brother.
Right.
So he had a lot to do with the decision as well. Him and there was another guy named Willie McNeil.
Willie McNeil, running back.
No, he played offensive tackle.
Offensive tackle, big guy.
You're talking about Willie Parker. You thinking about Willie Parker?
I'm thinking about Willie Parker. Yeah, absolutely. Most people I know, because I've hooped with you. You was a two-star athlete in high school. You play basketball as well. Was there any people trying to recruit you to play basketball? I know basketball in Scotland County doesn't quite get the light like football does. So people don't always recognize us as a basketball school or anything. But was anybody trying to recruit you to play basketball as well?
No. No, at the time there wasn't anybody. You can remember, I going into my junior year. I don't even think I played. I played my junior year. I did play my junior year, but Coach Everett had left then. Coach Everett left out of my sophomore year.
Right.
But at the time it was Coach Everett and Marlon Clark, which is probably one of the best next to Junior Harrington, one of the best players I've played with. You know what I mean?
We can throw Floopy in there as well.
Who was that?
Floopy, what's his name? Raymond McKeithen or something?
Raymond. I heard about Raymond. I heard he was good too, but I guess I should rephrase the people that I've seen play. You know what I mean? But I heard he was like.
Those are the three that always get mentioned as probably the three best people to come from Scotland High School.
Okay, you said Raymond McKeithen. I heard of that. Yeah, I heard of him. Yeah. But yeah, man, I didn't, but I wanted to get recruited. But then going into my junior year, once I started getting more notoriety in football, I didn't even play basketball my senior year because I had to gain weight and do things of that nature. With basketball, that's counterintuitive. So after my junior year, I kind of gave up that hope. But as you know, man, we hoop.
Hoop.
So,
Hoop,
yeah, it was hard to give up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Love hooping, man. You graduated from Scotland, class of 04, I think. You go to UNC. Did they offer you a full ride?
Full ride, yep.
Full ride, man. I know your parents had to be so proud, man, to don't have to worry about college. You ain't got to worry about college. You ain't got to worry about paying for it. You get to UNC. You go to Chapel Hill. That summer, man. What's the mindset? What's the thought?
Earn respect. I gotta earn my respect. You know what I mean? I gotta show these guys that that the head coach and Coach Brewer, which is the guy recruiting me, didn't make a mistake. By bringing me in here and allowing me to join kind of that fraternity. You know what I mean? Because football is basically fraternity without it being called a fraternity. You know what I mean? A lot of the guys, you have some guys pledge different fraternities, but I mean, it's really like a brotherhood. You know what I mean? We sweat, we cry together, and we be happy together. You know what I mean? It's literally blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? We go through so much together. And so going into that summer, I felt like, I had a city on my back, and then I had to go in and prove something. And so thankfully I went in there, man, and I earned a lot of people respect because, I was super small. You know what I mean? I never forget coming in, they were clowning me like, DN, like, boy, you like a receiver. You know what I mean? Like literally like clowning me, like everybody, like Skinny Pimp. That was one of my nicknames, Skinny Pimp. So yeah, I just had to go in there, man, and earn my respect. And that summer is when, when my journey, began of doing that.
Absolutely. When do you feel like you had to get bigger, get stronger, get faster?
I did. Going in, it wasn't so much faster, you know what I mean? That's one of the things that, that I was blessed with, speed as always. So I really wasn't too much worried about that. Of course, I thought I could improve, and I did improve speed-wise, but it was more weight because I was about 190, you know what I mean? And now I'm going to college where, it's basically grown men, you know what I mean? You're playing with grown men, playing people got, facial hair on their face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some people got kids, and so I know I had to get my weight up. So I went in, I think 190 that summer, and then that fall and spring is when I gained a good amount of weight. I got to about 220.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then my sophomore year, going into my junior year, is when I made a jump, a bigger jump of gaining 20 pounds, which I got about 240.
Mm-hmm.
And, my senior year, I left at 245. So, looking at it now, I mean, I gained about 50 pounds. And the crazy thing about it is Coach Barnes, Mark Barnes, before I went to college, that's what he said. That's what he used to tell recruits. He said Hilee has a frame to gain about 45 to 50 pounds.
Wow.
And it was true. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think it was true because, you go to 190 to 240, you thinking that's a lot of weight. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's what happened, man. It was the weight. I would really won't worry about speed. It was just the weight.
Number 33. What was the science in choosing that number?
That's a great question, K-Y. I'm glad you asked that. So there's a story behind that in my Panther number, but 33, when I came in, they don't, you can ask for a number, but sometimes they assign you a number.
Okay.
And they just gave me that number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to your locker, the old locker, they used to have a sheet, and they'll say, X player made all ACC, X player made all American or whatever. So I get to the locker, and first of all, I wanted number 40 because that was a number I wore because of Gail Sayers. That was my favorite player of all time. Rest in peace. So I go to the locker, and number 33 has no accolades ever. Like nothing is up there. It's a blank sheet of paper. So I said, all right, bet. You know what? I'm keeping this number. I ain't even want 40 because there was a senior with number 40. I still could have had it, but it would have been 2 number 40s. And I don't like it. I just like to be my, you know what I mean? I like doing my own thing.
I hate it when college started that. That was so whack to me. Like, why is it like a number on offense got the same number as the person on the defense? I never understood that when college started doing it.
Well, one reason why is college because you have a lot more players.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, but I'm with you. I really want digging it. So I said, you know what? This gonna be my goal is before I leave here, I want this sheet of paper to be filled. And so I kept number 33, and thankfully I was able to attain that goal of getting it filled up.
Yeah, man. Who's the head coach of UNC at your time there?
It was Coach Button for my first 3 years, John Button, and then my last year was Coach Butch Davis.
Butch Davis. It was a lot of excitement when I remember when Butch Davis came to take over the program. Ex NFL coach. Talk about your senior year, and you know this is a very pivotal season for you, and now going in having a new head coach. What was your mindset?
Man, I ain't gonna lie. You know, I'm being completely transparent because this is, you know, I know you keep it real. They told us my junior year, because you got to think my junior year, by this time I've already had 2 position coaches, and now you know you're talking about taking away a head coach, and I'm trying to make it to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So I never forget the position coach at the time, which was Danny Pierman, which he coached for Clemson now. He was actually at B-Tech recruiting, so it worked out.
Okay.
He came in because he was my position coach at the time, and he said, "Hey, just got news. You know, we're not going to be here next year." And basically, at this time, we knew Coach Button wasn't going to be here no longer. And so, man, I honestly, man, like I just started crying, man, because it was you kind of see your future before you. You know what I mean? And it's like constantly starting over. You know what I mean? Starting over again, starting over. And so it's like you build these relationships with these people, and then you just got to break it off. You know what I mean? In the NFL, you kind of, at that point, you kind of get used to it. But in college, it's kind of that learning process of, you know, people leave every year. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, I cried, man, thought about it, and I prayed, and then, you know, I think a few days later, we found out Coach Davis was coming. And it was a blessing in disguise, man, because prior to him getting there, you know, be honest, we didn't hear national championship a lot. It was kind of almost okay just to make it to the bowl game. And
right.
Honestly, me, I wasn't about that. I was about national championship. Like, you know, you got to think you the best to
Absolutely.
be the best. You know what I mean? And so one of the first things Coach Davis did when he walked in is mention national championship. And at that point, you know, I stood up in my seat and I said, you know what? This is going to be a good year. You know what I mean? Because his barometer was already up here. You know what I mean? Like, realistically, in 1 year making the national championship, like, even if we would have went undefeated, we probably wouldn't have made it. But because we ain't here, we could have been a lot higher than what we were before. You know what I mean? And so, and he came in, he said that. Then from there, I met Coach John Blake. Rest in peace. He passed away this year. Like I'm saying, rest in peace way too much. He passed away this year. He was a position coach. And, you know, his philosophy was a philosophy that I hadn't had since Scotland High School with Coach Tom Perry. And he basically used my strengths. He said, Hilee, you got speed, use it. You know what I'm saying? Do what you do, basically. He didn't confine me. You know what I mean? I didn't have to. He basically let me do what I do, and if I messed up, I had to do the way he wanted done. And with every coach I've had, I've always did the best with that. You know what I mean? You just kind of let me do it my way, and if I mess up, I do it your way. And it's always on well. So my senior year ended up being by far my best year at Chapel Hill. We ended up being 4-8 that year. We lost a grand total of 6 games by like 12 points. So we were close. But ended up making all ACC, top 10 in the nation in sacks, top two in the ACC in sacks. And so I was happy with the progress. And Coach Davis and his staff did a great job with just transforming us in just a year's time.
How important was getting your degree as well at UNC, and talk to the younger cats that might be watching this of using your time wisely, of being a student athlete and being a student as well, like balancing the two. How did you do balancing both of those to get a degree, but then perform on the field every week at a high level?
Yeah, great question. So the degree, Chapel Hill, UNC had, tutors in place, and then they had all the resources you needed to be successful. So you either utilize the resources or you didn't. And when I say utilize the resources, that means if you didn't understand something, they had people there to help you. You know what I mean? Whether if it was students that went to school for, that particular subject, or just people that, that you played ball with that understood it a little better than you. You know what I mean? So like it really taught me. This is the time I seen, like, we call the study hall, was a building where we just did all our studying and stuff at. I really seen, that this right here was basically like responsibility. You know what I mean? Like responsibility. So we can go in and tell the advisor what major we want to do, and the advisor advised us, to do it or not. You know what I mean? They never said, no, do this. You know what I mean? So when you go in, I went in and basically told the advisor what I wanted to do. And she said, hey, okay, it's going to take a lot of work. I said, okay, cool, I'm up for it. And so, I would study. I ain't gonna lie, some days I didn't want to study. Some days I didn't study. But for the most part, those days I didn't want to study, man, I just I always thought about my goal of making it to the NFL. And I knew when you get to an organization like that, they always going to backtrack and ask those people that you encounter with on what kind of student you was and what kind of person, because that denotes, essentially what kind of professional you're going to be in the NFL, because you ain't going to have nobody holding your hand in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I took school serious because I had to. School never came easy to me. You know what I mean? Most people don't know I was this far away from being put in remedial classes in my first grade. But my dad and my mom, basically stopped that and did what deemed necessary, to spend extra time with me to not have to go that route. So school, it always took me a little longer. It still takes me a little longer now. I have to reread things a lot. So I knew my weaknesses, and I just, capitalized on it. And then for student athletes, man, like one of the biggest things is your time management. You know what I mean? Because your time is really accounted for to when you wake up till you go to bed at night. In between that, you're on the go. You're lifting weights, you're practicing, you're studying film, you're eating, and then it's study hall. Then it's repeat. You know what I mean? So any student athlete, I would say manage your time wisely. You know what I mean? Manage your time wisely, and you basically get out what you put in. You know what I mean? If you put in hard work, it's gonna reflect in your grades. If you don't put in hard work, it's gonna reflect in your grades. Just like on the field, you know what I mean? If you don't study field, if you don't lift your weights, you ain't gonna be successful out there. So I would say treat it just that the field study, treat that just as important. It's just as important on off the field as well too, because you're both studying something, but one you're a little more natural at, which is why you got a scholarship. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the other one you're not. So I just say just work at it, man. I mean, if you're a student athlete, it already shows that you can work for whatever you want. Just work at the student part. You know what I'm saying? You only got 4 years, maybe 5 years, and it's gonna fly by. So just go ahead and do it, and and take advantage of it.
What was your degree in, Hilee?
Mine was sociology.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. You get all these accolades. Your senior year. Do you get an invite to the combine?
I didn't. It's funny you said I was thinking about that today. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't. And I was just talking about Tom Brady chip on the shoulder. My life always have a pattern. You know what I mean? And one of the patterns is, the reporters always say there's a lot of. I can't tell you how many articles where the word snub the reporters use when it comes to talking about me. And so the combine I got snubbed. It's one of those things that I would flat out say I got snubbed. Top 10 in the nation in sacks. On a team that didn't win many games, so the opportunity were few. Just got snubbed, but I didn't complain at all. Didn't complain. Pro day came and I tore it up. To the point where the scouts were oohing and ah, you know what I mean? And in those type atmospheres, they try to keep the poker face, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I left that day. I killed it. I killed it, man. I killed it. Yeah. I mean, I posted times that had I been at the combine, I still would have records to this day. You know what I mean? I ran a 4.49 at defensive end, and kind of put it in perspective. That's fast for a DB. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I posted some great times, and I left that day feeling like I left it all on the field. You know what I mean? Whether I get drafted or not, I did all I can. So, yeah, man, they ain't give me that invite to the combine, boy. I was thinking about it today. I'm still kind of heated about that, man, because I like pressure situations. You know what I mean? Just to be on that TV and all eyes on you, man. Like I just felt like, it would have been an opportune time. Like I would have made a lot of money that day, but everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to play.
You go into that scene. You go in your senior year that summer. Do you have the backup plan of maybe so many great athletes in college they never play football again. That's after they play college that's pretty much that's it. Did you have the mindset of like, hey, I might get picked up as a free agent, I might get drafted, or I might have to get a job? What is your mindset going into that summer before you get drafted?
I'm playing in the NFL. From hell to high water, I'm there. And, because I just killed this pro day and the teams are talking to me and, well-known agent, I have is telling me that I'll be third round. No, how do you put it? At least a third round.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I was like, what, I'm getting drafted. Like, and it's crazy you said I never thought about it. It never once crossed my mind, what if I don't make it? And I think that's very important because what we envision, what we tell ourselves, it will come into fruition. You see what I'm saying? Like I didn't have one inkling. Like if I didn't make it, I would have been in trouble. You know what I mean? I honestly didn't have no plan. I was like, I'm making it. You know what I'm saying? And so, I end up, getting drafted.
I remember like it was yesterday. I was watching the evening news and they run down the Carolina Panthers draft picks and your name came up. Forgive me, I don't remember which pick you was, but I remember seeing that on the screen and just being so proud of you, bro. Like I was like, damn, Hilee got drafted, and not just drafted to the Carolina Panthers, man. That was just so nuts. Just from being from where we from, having pride from where we from, and to see you get drafted to the Carolina Panthers, man, was just, man, nuts. Take me to the 24 hours up to the draft and getting that call. What's that process like, bro?
Man, it can be stressful. It can be stressful because at this point, you've already taken visits to teams. So you have, I took like 5 or 6 visits to different teams, where they bring you in You know what I mean? They do your height, weight, and all that. They talk to you. They kind of see if, all right, we're going to draft you or not. It's kind of an interview, you know what I'm saying? Informal interview. And so you have your visits. You're talking to teams, you know. To be honest, the Patriots call me almost every day leading up to the draft. So you got to think in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, the Patriots gonna draft me. You know what I'm saying? And so that last 24 hours, you know, you just kind of think about like, all right, the dream comes true. Like, you know, I wonder who's gonna draft me. You're trying to gauge. You know, of course, I'm thinking the Patriots because, you know, they've been, you know, talking to me the most. They've been coming down to see me the most. Like, I'm just thinking it's already laid out. You know what I mean? So, you know, of course, at this time, you know, you have the first day, which is the first rounders. You know what I'm saying? And you got the second day, which is second through like the fifth or whatever. You got your last day, fifth through the seventh or whatever. So, you know, of course, the first day, you know, you look or whatever. You see people get.
Did you have draft party or anything?
Nah, you know, we came on. Nope. I just want to be with my family, my mom and dad, my brother Marlon, rest in peace. And you know, we just chill at the house, man. Just chill at the house, watch his mama cook. I didn't want to make it no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Put any like, you know, any more pressure in the situation. So the first day goes by, or whatever. So the second day, you kind of wake up, you know. I'm thinking, you know, my agent's third round or whatever. I'm like, all right, it's gonna be the day or whatever. So, you know, you wake up a little more pep in your step or whatever, trying to play it cool or whatever. And, you know, you're really by the TV a lot this day because you feel like this is gonna be the day. So, you know, second round come and, you know, you start seeing people get drafted that you're like, I'm better than him. I'm better than him.
That guy.
Yeah, I'm better than him, and my stats better than him. So, are they drafting him off potential, or are they drafting him off what he's actually done?
Right.
So I'm like, all right, cool. That's what's up. All right. So that means I gotta get a little more stats this year to showing they made a mistake. So then that becomes a pattern. You know what I mean? And then you see a guy that get drafted, and you like, oh no, like I know I'm better than him. Like he in the ACC too. Like, yeah, what 3 sacks? Oh no, I know I'm better. You know what I mean? It's not like hating, but it's really at that point you're putting the facts out there and the potential, because when you prove yourself, you feel like you should get rewarded for it. And so you start seeing that, and then you see somebody else. So at this point, you know, it's third round pass. I ain't get drafted. So talking to my agent, he's like, yeah, we're talking blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. Fourth round comes. No call yet. So to be honest, Kayvon, at this point, like I'm infuriated. You know what I mean? Like I don't really want to talk to nobody. You know what I mean? I just want to stay in my zone. So at this point, I'm kind of in and out of the house. Really don't even want to watch it no more. You know what I mean? And so that day passed by. So now you got day 3, whatever. Day 3 comes, you know, that's like your 5th, 7th round, whatever. At this point, I'm mad. I'm like, yo, wherever I go, undrafted, drafted, I'm killing it, showing they made a mistake. Like, I can't believe such and such and such, you got drafted, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? And so 5th round comes. At this point, I'm not too mad because I feel like whether I get drafted 5th, 7th round, undrafted, it's the same at this point. You know what I mean? So I'm literally Patriots still calling. They ain't doing that. They bluffing the whole time. I'm figuring out they probably wouldn't do undrafted. You know what I mean? That's what they do. You know, they get you for the cheap. So they still calling saying, yeah, we got a pick, blah, blah, blah. Pick come up, they don't, you know, they get somebody else. So at that point, a Miami number come in. Hello, blah, blah, blah. This is such and such from the Dolphins, blah, blah, blah. We got a pick coming up. We're going to draft you, blah, blah, blah. I said, hold on. 704 number beeps in. I said, hold on. Hello. Hey, Hilee. Hey, how you doing? Blah, blah. It's Coach Fox. You ready to be a Panther? Shoot, yeah, I'm ready to be a Panther. You know what I mean? And so it just happened just like that. And so by this point, my mom and dad, my mom come out. Well, I think my brother Marlon came out. They're like, what are your Panthers, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So everybody excited. They see it on the TV. on the TV, the guy's talking about it, Mel Kiper. I think he actually talked about how, I should have been drafted higher because I was one of his most top 5 improved players that year, and he projected me to be like 3rd, 4th round. And so, he kind of talking about it or whatever. And so that was it. You know what I mean? That was it. It was a learning experience, and I forgot one detail. The first day I went fishing, there's a guy named Harry Covington. He's a big UNC alumni from back in Lawrenceburg.
Mm-hmm.
The first day I did spend it over there. I went fishing or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah, I went fishing.
Who did they compare you to coming out of college? You got the last name Taylor. Did they compare you to Jason Taylor any?
Yep. That's one of my favorite players. Yep. There was a lot of comparisons with that because we was about the same size. He's a little taller than me, but that was my comparison.
Jason Taylor. So you get to UNC. You have an Julius Peppers is there. Does he take you under his wing? What does Pep do?
Yeah. So I mean, Pep. Yeah, he took me under his wing. The whole time I was there. He was kind of a big brother. Pep is more of a he's very cerebral. Like he likes to ask a lot of questions, rhetorical questions. He already know the answers to just to see where your head at. You know what I mean? And so he would challenge me with questions. And for the most part, you know what I mean? Like if he seen I was doing something wrong, you know what I mean? He would like try it this way or whatever. So we would talk about UNC. He actually the first time I ever flew on a jet, he flew me on a jet to go see the UNC and Florida State game back in 2009 when they played on a Thursday night. So that's the type of heart he has. You know what I mean? He's definitely a giver, and it was a blessing, man. They go from saying in my program guy, I'm the UNC. If there was one person I could switch a day with, it'd be Julius Peppers to actually having a locker next to him every single day. You know what I'm saying? It was like, I mean, you couldn't write it up any better. You know what I mean? So, bless.
Absolutely. Your rookie year, who's on that Panthers team? Is Jake Delhomme still there or Steve Smith?
Yeah, Jake Delhomme, Steve Smith, Musa Muhammad, Julius Peppers, Thomas Davis, John Beeson, Mike Kumiatu, Chris Gamble, Nate Sally. It was we were loaded that year, and we should have went to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Panthers went to Super Bowl a few years before that.
They did. Probably
2003, 2004, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is your welcome to the NFL moment?
Welcome to the NFL moment, I would say, and it ain't nothing physical. You know what I mean? It ain't nothing on the field. My welcome to the NFL moment was Steve Smith knowing my name and speaking to me first.
Wow.
Yeah, because you know how TV can portray one thing, and I told you each situation I've been in or whatever, you had to earn respect. You know what I mean? And so I ain't gonna lie, going into the Panthers and seeing Steve on the field and stuff, I felt like he was gonna be the one I had to earn my respect through. You know what I mean? So I had this whole picture made up of how it was gonna go down. You know what I mean? He was gonna be disrespectful. I was gonna have to, we was gonna have to check. You know what I mean? You just kind of had this whole.
That's Steve Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So going in, I walk in the locker room, and he's like, "Hilee, man, welcome to the team." I'm like, "What?" You gotta play it cool because now, you know what I mean, you're gonna be around a lot of that. But when he did it, man, I was just like, wow, like I want to ask him like, how you know my name? You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that was a welcome moment. I knew then that I made it, that I was here in the NFL and I was around the players that I was used to seeing playing on every Sunday.
Now you being a businessman now,
Mm-hmm.
What? How did you? First off, what did you do with your first NFL check? And
Mm-hmm.
secondly, how did you learn how to, manage that type of money that you've never had before?
Yeah, so my first check, I ain't gonna lie, I don't even know what I did with it. I did with it. I know I saved it. You know what I mean? Because my dad, even before I made it, to the NFL, instilled in me how to save money and, cover your what ifs. Meaning, what if this goes wrong? You know what I mean? Or if you have a meeting in an hour, what if your tire goes flat? You know what I mean? So it's kind of, you gotta cover your what ifs, what if something happens. So I honestly don't know what I did with the first check. I will say my first big purchase though wasn't until after the season, that January, I bought my first car, like in my name. I had a car, but it was my first car in my name, and I did it because again, my dad instilled in me cover the what ifs. Yeah, I knew I made a team, but it wasn't guaranteed. You know what I mean? I can get fired, the day after or the same day they say I made a team. So I wanted to make sure that I had a nice cushion of money in my account before I started buying, making big purchases. You know what I mean? And so I waited till after the season, and that's when I made my big purchase. And in terms of my money, like I said again, my dad, man, he always said cover the what ifs. My dad always been an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't know this, My dad owned a company called Perfect Beat Productions back in the day. And that house, my brother was a DJ, and there was another DJ named Beaver G. Well, my dad is the only one that I know ever in Scotland County, or even in North Carolina, to have Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff come to Longburg. He had them at Rockers Roller Dome and Heavy D there. A lot of people don't know that. So that's the kind of stuff my dad was on. He was ahead of his time. He was a big marketer. So he always was on the entrepreneur game. So by him learning certain things in the past, he taught me how to just save up and spend things on assets, not liabilities.
Got you. How many years do you spend at the Panthers?
I was with the Panthers for 3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
3 years. Another moment I remember, you get traded.
I did. Yep.
Got traded to the Lions, if I remember right.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
To the Lions.
Yep.
And then I remember seeing a story says Hilee Taylor doesn't report to the Lions.
Yep.
Was you shocked by the trade, or did you kind of expect it could happen?
At that moment, hey Ron, I was so used to holding a lot in, and you know what I mean? Like a lot of people think, I was raised with a silver spoon in my mouth, that everything was hunky dory. Nah, it wasn't. I just chose to keep pushing through a lot of stuff. And I held a lot in. So I wasn't gonna be the guy, go to the guidance counselor and say, hey, K-Von picking on me, or, I never was that guy, you know what I mean? I was always, take it on the chin or whatever and handle it how I handle it, you know what I mean? And so leading up to that, there was a lot that transpired. Firstly, in the NFL, I found out real quick that it was a business, meaning that it wasn't like college, it wasn't like high school, and it wasn't like Little League, where the best men played, you know what I mean? Now you have money invested. You had a lot of people covering themselves. If one guy say, hey, draft Kayvon, and Kayvon ain't doing that well, he got to justify why Kayvon not doing well and to keep giving Kayvon a chance and don't play high league. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So you see a lot of political things, you know what I mean? And so there was a lot going on that people didn't know about. I made the team every year I was with the Panthers, but there was some stuff going on to where, a different coach, you know what I mean? The guy that brought me in, he left after my first year. So guess what? I had to start over again like I did at UNC. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I've never had a consistent coach more than 2 years, you know what I mean? And in the NFL, that helps you because if Kayvon, if you draft Hilee Taylor and you like me, and you in the NFL for 15 years, and I stay healthy, guess what? You're gonna take Hilee wherever you go. You know what I mean? And so you see a lot of players when they play a long time like that, not to discredit their ability, but a lot of it has to do with that coach liking that player. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? So they're gonna take him. So long story short, my second year with the Panthers, a new coach came in. You know what I mean? So I had to earn his respect. His name was Brian Baker. He came from the Rams.
This is your position coach.
Position coach, yes, sir. Yeah. And yeah, position coach, yeah. So he comes in and, you know, rightfully so, he brings in Rams players from where he came from. Well, Hilee I got to get it. You know what I mean? I made the team. You know what I mean? I'm on there. Third year, he's there. Training camp. I hurt my knee. You know what I mean? So not only am I battling making the team and battling, you know, this coach's previous players, I'm now battling a knee injury that, you know what, I had in college, but hopefully it's not as bad. So now, you know, the saying is you can't make the club in the tub, which means as long as you're in that training room, the NFL gonna get rid of it. So I'm dealing with all these mental things, you know what I mean? I'm dealing with them mentally. And at this point, you know, that year they put me on IR, which means injury reserve. So I didn't play that year. So I'm kind of disappointed. Well, I am disappointed because I never set a year out of my life of playing football. Now I'm injured. Now I'm in the NFL. And NFL, people are saying, stands for not for long. So now I got an injury. So I'm not helping my chances of staying in the NFL. Fast forward 2011, lockout year. You know what I mean? We're going into the lockout year or whatever. Can't be at the facilities. Can't really do nothing. You have to do all your practices off sites because, you know, you're trying to still negotiate. The league's trying to negotiate with the team. So fast forward. They reach an agreement. All right, we got training camp. All right, cool. Drive down to Spartanburg. And, you know, you typically go to Wofford. You know what I mean? Is where we would be at Wofford. Going to, you know, routine. At this point, I know how it goes. I walk into a routine. You know, you go through your training, your doctors, they get everybody checking you out, blah, blah, blah. And then after this, you go to your dorm room or your locker room.
Right.
Well, after all that happened, I proceed to go put my items in my locker. Well, I see number 97, which is my number at the time, but they don't say Taylor by it. So at this point, I'm pissed off. I'm like, at that point, I locked eyes with the equipment guy. He was like, Hilee, I don't know what's going on. I just did what I was told. I said, all right, cool. I walk out. I see the GM, Marty Herney, at this point. And he's talking to, you know, a guy that just got a big paycheck or whatever. And so I went up there. I'm standing. I'm like, can I talk to you right quick? We'll go upstairs. And he proceeds to say, Hilee, we've been talking about what he's going to do with you. You know, we had a player at the time, was Greg Hardy. You know, he got in the wreck. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do. So before he can say, figure out what we're going to do, I extended my hand out. I said, you know, Marty, I appreciate the opportunity. And so I walked out. So, I mean, technically it was one of those things that as he was explaining it, I kind of see where it was going. It was kind of going to utilize me, you know, as a fresh body until Greg got healthy. And so, you know, remind you, everything I've been going through at this point, I exploded. You know what I mean? And so, on the way to Spartanburg, I think even before I got to Spartanburg, my agent called, said, "Hey, Detroit Lions just claims your contract or whatever." I'm like, you know what? I said, man, I ain't want to go. I don't want to play. You know what I mean? And so, you know, honestly, man, looking back, I would have did it differently. But I think that moment in my life taught me on how, you know, we should always find an outlet to vent. You know what I'm saying? It's not good to keep things in. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, thankfully, even after doing that, Detroit still wanted me to come. And I went down to Florida for a while with Coach Bat, get my mind right. Detroit still wanted me. I went up to Detroit. Unfortunately, my knee still wasn't right. So they kind of released my contract at that point. Following year, you know, I had a short stint with Tampa Bay. And then after that, I went to Canada for 2 years. So
I don't know. I don't even remember the Tampa Bay stint.
yeah, it was spring. It was in the spring, man. It was off season. It wasn't like during the season. It was very short. It was probably about 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fit. Wasn't a good fit for my position. So it happens. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was the second time I got fired.
At this point, being an NFL player, take me back to when you were in the NFL and you would go back to Laurinburg. What would the response be, and how would the city gravitate towards you as you being in such an elite club of people to make it to that level? What was the feel? What was the excitement like going back to Laurinburg?
To be honest, man, you know, I love Laurinburg, but you know, another thing I learned from my dad and learned from my brother Marlon is you gotta stay a couple steps ahead. So, you know, one thing that kind of I didn't like is when I immediately got drafted, they put how much I made in the Laurinburg Exchange paper. You know what I mean? So now my business is out there. I never get talking to my agent. I'm like, how can they do that? Tell me how much I made. He's like, hey, you public now. You know what I mean? You basically famous, you're a public figure. So I knew then I was psyched to go home, but I always moved, you know, a little different. You know what I'm saying? I was always visiting people I knew. If he was going to a restaurant, honestly, I had my mom and dad go. You know what I mean? Because I never liked all the attention. I still don't like attention. You know what I mean? So that was my way of avoiding that. You know what I mean? But you know, when it came to my nephews and stuff having little league games, I would go. And you know, the city, man, like they always show me love. They always say, "Man, we're proud of you, Ali." You know, they want to take pictures. You know, you have some people claiming they babysit you, and I'm like, "Mom, does this woman used to babysit you?" She's like, "Nah." Nah, man, it was always love. It still is love right now, man. You know, I'll forever love Laurinburg. One thing I do, you know, and I say this on the podcast, I've always thought about it. You know, one thing I do think need to happen is, you know, homage need to be paid to, you know, Junior Harrington and, you know, people that made it to the next level because it's rare. You know what I'm saying? Junior will never say it, but I always tell him Junior inspired me to want to make it to the NFL because he was the first person I've ever seen to make it to a professional level, and that was the NBA. And so I just feel like, you know, that's one part we can't do better in Laurinburg. You go there now, nobody ever knows anybody made it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so not just that, just people making like yourself, you're successful. We got lawyers there. We got a lot going on there. And yeah, there's negativity there, but we have a lot of positivity. So that just got to be pushed more so the people and the kids there know that, hey, like, it can be done. Like, it's vital, man. Like, you got to see somebody else do it. It helps the vision out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see anybody make the NFL when I made it. I heard about people afterwards, but, you know, just to have somebody, you just like, dang, like Junior in the NBA, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It helps. So I just feel like Scotland County, we got to do better at that. Like, there's a lot of greatness came from that city, and just the homage got to be paid and flowers got to be provided. You know what I mean?
I could imagine the pressure that a young Zamir White went through because we never seen the city that turned up ever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to the point where it's like, by the time you get to the senior year, like you going to a Scotland game, it's like no seats. Like it's crazy. Like I remember going like to the Richmond Scotland game in senior year. It's like nowhere to sit. And it's like, man, I can imagine what that young man deals with on an everyday basis, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And hopefully that young man will get his opportunity to play on Sundays as well.
Oh yeah. He will. I was talking to Coach Steele the other day about it. I mean, he's one of the top players, you know, from high school, you know what I mean? And, you know, he's great, got great ability. As long as he stay healthy, you know, he'd be the next one to make it, you know what I mean? And he can inspire another young kid, from Scotland County to make it. And just keep it going. You know what I mean? It's like, once the trail is blazed, you got to keep it blazing. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep it going. And so it's huge, man. Like, I just think about it now, man. Just the NFL, like, they draft 200 people every year. You got to think 200 people. I don't know how many cities in the U.S., but I guarantee you there's a way more than 200. Let's say there's 200 cities. Let's just say if it's 200 cities in the U.S.
Right.
One of those cities got chose was Lawrenceburg, North Carolina. Think about it now.
Right.
Think about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you put it in perspective, and we got like 4 or 5 or 6 players within the past 10 years that make it, they got to be accounted for, man. Like, it got to be. And then one NBA, not mention NBA.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's rare, man. It's just, like, I'm proud of every person that made it. I'm proud of you got your podcast. I'm proud of everybody that's doing something from Lawrenceburg. Like, there is positivity there. There is greatness there. We just got to embrace it, and we just got to pay homage. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know, man. That's just mind-boggling. That's rare, K1. Like, just think about it. Lawrenceburg, man.
Lawrenceburg. And it's crazy when you in politics, you meet people and you say, we're from Wagram. They don't know that. But when you say Lawrenceburg, Scotland County, like, oh boy, y'all boys play some football down there, boy. And they get so excited, man. It's like, yeah, man, we ball. Was you quite surprised when Scotland County started doing so great in football the post years after you, like, years late after you left? Like, I actually watched them win it in, I think, 2011.
2011, yep, exactly.
At Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And then after that, man, they just kept going on a tear. Like, if they ain't in the champion, they playing for a championship. I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus or anything, but what do you think is the biggest difference in when y'all played? Because y'all had studs, man. You had studs as well, and then when those guys just went to another level, what do you think the difference?
I'm gonna keep it all the way real with you, and I have plenty of conversation. The biggest difference is the conference. Mm-hmm. There is a big difference between 4AA and 4A, hands down. Whatever nobody says, I respect your opinion, but playing is 2 different things. 4AA, your competition. You're playing competition every week, week in and week out. You know what I'm saying? Like, back then, like, the game that we would be like, all right, you know what I'm saying? We can't chill, but it's all right, was Pernell Sweat, and we couldn't sleep on them boys. Like, them boys was thumping. Right. You know what I'm saying? Then you had Pinecrest, maybe. But outside of that, you playing them boys from Fayetteville, which they breeding them NFL players too. And in the playoffs, you playing people like Chris Lee. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I never forget when we made it to the playoffs both years. Like, you're always playing somebody on another team that at least has 2 D1 athletes with full rides. Right. Every week, you know what I'm saying? And, my junior year was Chris Lee. My senior year, there was a dude named Andrew Pierman. His brother named Alvin Pierman played for Virginia, but Andrew went to Hawaii. He ran like a 4.2. But he was nice. You see what I'm saying? So I would say, not to discredit, because they can't help, how big the school is, but I will say that the biggest difference is the conference. You know what I mean? I think they played 4A, and when I played, it was 4AA. And when, your time in school was 4AA. So up until, I think, whenever they switched to conference, it was always 4AA. You know what I mean? Right. You playing Anson County, them boys big. Right. Southview, right. You know what I mean? Nat Britt, Westover, 71st, Douglasburg with Calvin Lowry. Like, they have some ballers. So that's the biggest difference, K-Line. And that's not to discredit anything that they're doing now. Like, because, again, you can't help how many people go to school. But when it comes to on that football field and playing, conference has it's a big difference.
All right, let's speed it up. You go to the play Canadian football. You win the championship there with the team you played for. Biggest difference in the games in the NFL and in the Canadian League?
The field is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like for an example, the end zone in the Canadian League is 20 yards long, and NFL it's about 10. You know what I mean? As a defensive lineman, my biggest difference was I had to line up a yard off the ball in order to be considered onside. So to give you perspective, playing here in the States, you know, I try to get as close as possible to the football without being offside.
Right.
Up there, you got to look at the ball and measure by the yard and be behind there. So it kind of gives an offensive lineman a yard head start, you know what I mean, to get going to try to block him.
Right. Gotcha. Take me to that championship game. What was your mind state? Competing for a championship, like what did you think? What was your mindset going into the championship game?
Well, shoot, that had been the first championship for me since Scotland, you know, and that was a JV championship game we had.
Y'all was on that 10-0 team.
Yeah.
Under us.
Yep. Well, you got a good memory, boy. You remember a lot. Yep, that was it. So it was exciting, man. It was exciting to have the opportunity to get my first, you know, championship professionally. And it was a great game. It's kind of like, it's crazy. It's kind of like the scenario is now with Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. So you know how they already choose, you know, what stadium is going to be hosting mm-hmm. The Super Bowl. Well, they had us in Canada, and the previous 2 years, whoever hosted the game, mm-hmm. that team ended up winning. So we was a third team. You know what I mean? We was a third team. We was hosting the game, and so the pressure was on us all year to make it because, you know, we're kind of equivalent. We were equivalent to how Green Bay is in the NFL, publicly owned, mm-hmm. super cold, and use the weather to their advantage. That's how it was up there. Like, so, you know, to give you perspective, the Grey Cup week, it was negative 45 degrees. Like negative 45 degrees. Like any condensation, immediately freeze. Like cold. Like to the point where you practicing, but you're not practicing because it's so cold. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, so, I mean, Tom Hanks was there. You had all these celebrities. Like, I mean, it was huge, man. And the crowd was very receptive. It was just a whole, you know, it was good energy. And so, you know, that night was good, man. We ended up pulling it out. And, you know, of course, after it was even better.
Yeah. I remember seeing the pictures and watching all that. As you're going through that process in CFL, are you still having hopes of getting back in the NFL?
Yep, I am. So I signed a 2-year deal to go up there. First year, of course, went well. Second year, and this is no exaggeration, probably the best training camp I ever had in my life. Like, because, you know, I'm thinking like I'm getting back to the league. This is my contract year. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to get back to the league. And I was healthy. And so, you know, this is during training camp. You know, we had 2-a-day practices. Mm-hmm. And we had practice at night. And, you know, we were actually, the drills that we were doing wasn't full speed. You know what I mean? They were just drills kind of get the concept down. Mm-hmm. And I ended up slipping. It was wet. And guess what? Messed up my knee again. The same knee. So it was hot again. And it was like, oh man, not again. Like my contract year. Like, and so, you know, they put me on injury reserve because it was one of those incidents where, like, you know, it would be constant. You know what I mean? It would be constant. Like, I'll get it drained sometimes, and a lot of fluid would come out, and then the fluid would come right back. And so, you know, especially the position I played, men and down, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't working. So, long story short, that year didn't play, but I can say this now. I ended up getting healthier sooner, so I was practicing or whatever. And so the team got fined because I was practicing one day, mm-hmm. and the reporter was writing about me, like how I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so they was like, Hilee, you can't practice anymore. You got to chill. we just got fined because, the reporter seen you, whatever, which, I mean, I was happy because that means we like, all right, well, cool. That should show y'all that
Right.
I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And so, of course, business wise, after that year, they lowballed me. You know what I mean? Because they knew what I was capable of doing, but other teams didn't. And so at this point, I found my dad was having some sicknesses, and so I just said, you know what? I had a good run. I'm done. So I ended up giving it up, man. Getting about 5 or 6 years in professionally, and so just after that, just started exploring different options.
A few years ago, you and a bunch of young men, I filmed an event for y'all. Y'all come up with the Homeboys, the group. Y'all want to give back to Scotland County, to the community. I talked to Quentin on the podcast. He told me about a hike or something like that y'all took, and y'all wanted to come together. What ultimately made you want to get on board?
Yeah, so it's actually something I reached out to Quentin about, and I knew at the time, I knew that he was, some of the stuff that he was doing, I like what I was seeing, and so called a meeting, and then just kind of threw it out there what the idea was, and of course he was on board or whatever, and kind of said, let's do it together, see how many, get a bunch of people from the area again that's doing great things, get them together, and just go back and show everybody collectively, that you can do it too. You know what I'm saying? That everybody's not an athlete. You know what I mean? Everybody's not an entrepreneur, but everybody's doing something successful. And guess what? They're from exactly where you're from.
Right.
No way. You may not be from Scotland County, but somebody out of this group, not Scotland County, Scotland Nation, but somebody out of this group can be Scotland Nation. Wagram, somebody else can be from Wagram. Moody Grass, we got somebody too. So that group is formulated. I ain't gonna say was. This COVID kind of slow things up. But the group is formulated and it's all inclusive. Like, Kayvon, you a homeboy, you know what I mean? It's not like it's just these people, you know what I'm saying? It's anybody that's from Scotland County that's successful, that's a boy, you know what I mean? Or a man. And so that's kind of how it's configured. And, we did some events, they went very well. We started talking early last year, but unfortunately COVID came. So right now, we haven't did anything right now, just to kind of be precautious, but it's definitely going to be up and running. And, of course, we're going to still, get you involved. Because, I remember you being there that day with the video. Yeah. That was our first event, actually.
Yeah. Let's talk about, before I let you go, your T-shirt, Next Play.
Yeah.
Speak about what's that organization and what you got going on with that.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that. So Next Play mentality is a term that I learned playing sports. And it essentially means if, you messed up on a play, that have the next play mentality, meaning that you don't have time to, celebrate how well you did, or you don't have time to think about how bad you did. You just got to move on to the next play and just basically essentially keep moving forward. So this kind of got on my heart about a year and a half ago. I was just thinking, I was like, you know what, next play mentality is not just for athletes, it's for everybody, people in everyday life. With me dealing with 2 deaths, close deaths this past couple of years, I mean, I had to have that same mentality. You know what I mean? It's kind of like we keep moving forward. You know what I mean? Embrace transition, but keep moving forward. So next play mentality is basically a lifestyle, basically saying, you know what, like I'm embracing transitions, whether good or bad, and I'm just moving forward. You know what I mean? Like I'm enjoying life, and whatever I want to do. You know what I mean? If I make a mistake, so be it. If I do well, so be it. But I'm gonna keep challenging myself to move forward. So apparel going to keep being made, golf shirt, hats, things of that nature. And the plan is to make it a lifestyle. You know what I mean? When people see this, they get inspired. Social media is going to be a lot more going on with that. I'm getting a company involved with that. So the plan is just inspirational, man. Just inspire people, man, just to keep going. and just make it, next play the best play.
Absolutely. All right, Hilee. Man, it's definitely been an honor to talk to you. Man, I wish you nothing but the best. Before we go, talk to the people about what you're doing with real estate and stuff like that in the community as well. Before I let you go.
Yeah. So I have a company. Me and one of my homeboys, Bruce, called All Ages LLC. We essentially, man, we invest in all real estate across North Carolina, South Carolina, just wherever, but mainly North Carolina right now in the Fayetteville area. So, we basically go in, the property distress or a homeowner is in need of some assistance or whatever, we go in, negotiate with them and help them out. And then while we're helping them out, we help another person out by going in there, upgrading the house to 2021 standards and making their dream come true. Basically, giving them, their dream home, you know what I mean? So we go in there, renovate it, and resell it. So it's rewarding, man, because you go in and you see something. A lot of times we see is an ugly house. I mean,
right.
Ugly, you know what I mean? But then you have to envision how you want it to look, right? And once you envision what it looked like, you have somebody else say, you know what? Oh my gosh, like I love that. This is what I want. It's rewarding, man. You know what I mean? Because it's like the vision that you once had in your head, you was able to put it out there, and now somebody else appreciates that. You know what I mean? And sometimes, it's what people have been dreaming of. So that's essentially what we do. If you know anybody, whatever, what we do is just go in, man, and we just try to solve problems for people. If they in dire need or, if they investors themselves and they just want to get rid of the portfolio because they're at an age where they don't want to mess with it, man, that's what we come in and purchase.
Yes, sir. All right, tell the people where they can reach you if they would want to be part of that program.
Which one? You talking about the houses and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that right there is we on Instagram and Facebook. It's called All Acres LLC. In terms of the next play mentality, we got official next play mentality, Instagram and on Facebook. So we have a website, any apparel, anything like that. You go there and get that. My personal one is Hilee Taylor, Instagram, Hilee Taylor Jr. on Facebook. Reach out to me. You need any assistance, you need any help, any advice. If I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't, then I'll point you in the right direction.
Thank you, man. Man, Hilee, I really appreciate your time, man. For somebody that's on the level that you are and what you've accomplished, man, you're still as humble as hell as when rapping in woodshop class, man. And man, it's pretty damn cool, man. Nothing but blessings and positivity to you going forward. Again, I thank you for your time. Any last words you'd like to leave the people with?
No, man, I appreciate you. You're doing something great, man. Just giving people outlets on, how they feel, their thoughts. Great questions, man. Surprised you remember so much, but it did my heart some good today just to have you remember a lot of stuff. So I want to say I'm appreciative of you, man. You keep doing your thing. You keep representing Scotland County well, man, and just keep doing it, man. You're doing some great things.
Absolutely. All right, man. That's a wrap, man. Best Conversations podcast. My daughter wants to get in here. Get in here so bad. Best Conversations podcast, man. This is a really special episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. We end this the same way every time, man. Keep God first, and I promise everything will work itself out. Hilee Taylor, man. I appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you, man. Take it easy.
All right, man. You take it easy, bro.
You too. All right.